Joining me right now is Texas Rangers Broadcaster Tom Greive. Congratulations on another fantastic campaign. Another pennant in the bag, but was this a long enough winter vacation for everybody?
Well, when you go to postseason and go to the World Series, I think the one thing you find is the off season is much quicker. It's a long season. You get tired by the end of the regular season, and then when you go into postseason for a month like that, it's a long season. And so your routine changes a little bit in the off season. From my perspective, it's not that big a deal, but I think for some of the players, it changes their workout schedule.
Well, it might, and for 2 straight years, you start to get used to certain habits, and you try to relax a little bit more. For them, what is it like to keep the intensity up? Because dealing with success is something that they may not be used to.
Well, they're professionals, and the one thing I think you learn, because you have to learn it as a baseball player pretty much right from the start in the minor leagues, is it's a long season and you play every day. And so you hear all the cliches that the guys use. We're going to take it one day at a time. But they're all true. That's how you get through a baseball season. That's why when players are asked after you blow a game in the 9th inning in July, someone will say, boy, how do you bounce back from that one? Well, you bounce back because you have to. We've got 50 more games and we play every day. And so the players put it behind them. And the question this year was in spring training, how will they get beyond Game 6? And will there be a carryover into spring training? And the answer is there is for every fan. There probably is for me, but not for the players. They get beyond it because they have to. And once they come here for spring training, it's all work and getting ready for the season. And ball players in general are resilient like that.
And with that said, there's more teams in the mix now for the playoffs with the playoff expansion. What are your thoughts on that consideration? I'm sure it helps certain managers because it might keep them in the game longer. Certain teams could stay together because they might get closer. But there's been a lot of teams that have like 90 wins, never gone anywhere, but now they're going to be in the mix.
I think it's great. I think anything that expands the interest of the fans and allows a couple of cities to experience postseason play, I think it's great for the game, great for the players, great for everybody. Now the purists may say that's too many teams in the playoffs and what a waste of time. 2 teams play a 1-game playoff. But baseball has never had anything like that, kind of a sudden death playoff, so I think it adds a lot.
All right, your opinion, Yu Darvish, Mike Maddox said earlier this week he has not pitched from the windup in maybe a year or 2. Does that matter?
Yeah, that's the first time I'd seen that. I guess the only thing that really matters is whether you get people out.
Right.
But at the same time, I'd like to see him be able to develop that and pitch from the windup. He's off to, I'd say, an average start, maybe a little bit of a slow start, but when Roy Halladay gives up 7 runs in 2 innings, nobody says anything.
Nothing.
But other people that don't have that pedigree or track record, we all get alarmed about it. But it's still spring training. He's got a terrific pedigree, and I expect him to be a fine pitcher for us.
Other comments this week, Josh Hamilton, when asked if he was going to come to Vegas, he's here. He said, well, I'm not worried about temptation. That's wherever you go. You're always going to find trouble and sin. It doesn't matter what city. He seems like he's going to rebound just nicely and continue on to have another great year. But there's going to be added pressure because this is his last year of a contract.
Yeah, he's going to have to deal with that for sure. But he's a terrific player, terrific talent. He's in great shape right now. He's struggling in the middle of spring training to get his timing down. But I expect when the season starts, he'll be the same Josh Hamilton that he's been. And that's part of the game, and the players have to deal with that last year of their contract. There is a lot of pressure, and you try to block it out the best you can, but it's impossible not to go out there every day going, I got to perform, because there's a big payday waiting at the end of the season.
Tom, lastly, my question to you, you are probably the only player to ever play under Ted Williams, Whitey Herzog, and Billy Martin. In 3 consecutive years, what was that like going through? Was that did you know at the time you were going to go through 3 phases of amazing managers and what it was like to pick the brain of certain ones? Because Ted Williams, while a Hall of Fame player, maybe it was hard for him to communicate his greatness. Did you find that?
Yeah, Ted never wanted to manage. You couldn't classify him as a good big league manager because his heart wasn't in it. Now, if you asked him about hitting or fishing or ice cream sundaes or fly fishing, photography, you ask him about any of those things, flying a plane, then you better be ready for about a half an hour of an incredible discussion. But managing the game, I'll give you an example. Wayne Terwilliger was our third base coach. and Twig might put on a hit and run, and Ted would get up going, "Attaboy, Twiggy, nice going." Ted wasn't even giving the signs to the third base coach. He didn't even care. But Twig had been a minor league manager, and he knew how to run a game. Ted, I'm glad I was a position player. Ted hated pitchers, even his own pitchers had no use for him. So, he was a very interesting guy to play for. Whitey Herzog came over to the Rangers. That was his first managing job. He had been director, I think, player personnel with the Mets, so he'd never managed before. But you could tell he was very alert, very aggressive. He was going to be a great manager. You could feel that. But we got off to a bad start. Bob Short wanted something more exciting, and Billy Martin got fired, and so he fired Whitey Herzog in the first year. We hired Billy Martin, and I remember Billy came in and said, "I don't know what you guys expect, but if you think I came over here hoping to get us to 500, you're in the wrong clubhouse. I came here because this team is going to win. And if anyone doesn't feel that way or doesn't want to be here, then come into my office right after this meeting, and I'll get rid of you." And so no one went in because we didn't want to get fired. But at the same time, we all looked at each other and said, "Man, he must not have watched us play this year if he thinks this team is going to win." Surprisingly, though, the next year we traded for Fergie Jenkins. Jeff Burrows was the MVP. Davey Nelson had a great year. Jim Sundberg and Mike Hargrove were great rookies for us, and we did win. So
second place finish.
Billy was by far the best manager I ever played for. Between the lines, there's never been, in my opinion, anyone better.
I agree with you. In Billy Ball, his autobiography, he said the difference between him and Ted Williams is that Ted could not deal, and he thinks great players can't make great managers because they can't deal with mediocrity. Is there any truth to that?
I don't know. There might be some to that. Who knows? My take on that has always been the great players never really had to learn the nuances of the game. They just came out and played the game. Whereas a guy like Billy Martin, who had to scrap for everything, was a middle infielder, probably paid attention to everything Casey Stengel ever said.
Seemed to.
Learned all the relay and cutoff plays, all the little parts of it. That's why catchers make, in my opinion, good managers, because they know the game. The game, let's face it, is between the pitcher and the catcher for the most part. So they learn that part of the game. Whereas, let's say, a great outfielder, Ted Williams for that matter, he could have been an incredible hitting instructor, but as far as knowing the cutoffs and relays, he didn't even care about that. We came out for cutoffs and relays in spring training, and Nellie Fox got into an argument with Joe Camacho, two of our coaches, on who was supposed to be where during the cutoff plays, and Ted said, "Hey, the hell with it. Bring the balls out and let's hit." So that ended the fundamentals for that day, and we went in and started hitting. So my take on that is the great players never really had to learn the game, never anticipated they might want to manage, and as a consequence, most of them, there's exceptions, but most of them don't make good managers.